So welcome back. Today's fun tip is called Embossed Dots. Now this is the final project and I'll show you how we got to that point. What I'm doing is that we are starting with the pop-up glue dots, and I know you can't see this very well, but these are the big glue dots that are found on page 192 in the catalog. And we're going to use gold embossing powder. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that dot and I'm just going to rub it around inside of the embossing powder so that we get a good coat. And then you can see that, and you can just tap that off a little bit. And you can see now that that's got a really, really good coat on there. And if you want to, what you can do is you can take your fingers and just rub a little bit of this excess embossing powder off of this. I like to do it just because it's easier for it to come off later. Take your tweezers, take your embossing tool. I know this is going to be noisy and I apologize. Alright, you can see that what I did is that I held the embossing tool, the heat gun, very, very steady, and so that it got a good solid flow. But now remember that these are glue dots. This is like a hot glue gun. This is very hot and it will burn you, and at this point it will not come off very well. What I found is the best is to take this dot now, go put it in the freezer for about 2 minutes, and this is what we end up with is a dot. And you can bend your paper and the dot just comes right off and now is ready for your project. I'm going to put this back on here and let me show you again the flower that I showed you in the beginning. So there's the flower, and you can see that here's the embossed dot. Alright, now here's another variation. I'm going to just move this out of the way. This time what I did is that I started with a dimensional because it's got a sticky surface to it. So I'm going to bring my gold embossing powder in. Again, I'm just going to rub this in the embossing powder. Make sure it's got a good coat. Knock a little bit of the excess off. Now, again, take your heat tool and you're going to heat this just like you did the pop-up dot. I'm not going to take the time to do that. Let me show you what it looks like. This is one I just did. And as I zoom in on this, notice that the top of this has a little bit of texture, and that's because the underlying surface is foam, and so the embossing powder kind of takes on that texture, and if that's the kind of surface that you want, that's good. One thing I'll caution you is that the embossing powder does not stick to the sides of this one. It will be white, so no matter what embossing powder to use. But anyway, that's a couple of tips. I'm going to bring the flower back, and I'm going to bring the pop-up dot back, but you can see that that's our embossed dots. So thanks for stopping by.